All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast. And, well, we've got another one on, and we are continuing on. If you guys heard episode 150 of the Chasing Waypoints podcast, you know what we have got going on. We hinted at it on one of the last episodes of the Dakar coverage. And, well, it is time to go. We have Willem Avenant, and we are working on the Decoding Dakar series he is putting together to show his journey to the 2025 Dakar Rally. So you guys heard the announcement if you guys tuned into episode 150. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what is going on now that the Dakar hangover is more or less past. So we've got a lot coming on and going. Rally 101 going to be kicking off here too very, very shortly. But we've got a journey that we need to cover. So let's, without further ado, let's jump right into it and we can talk to Willem. Willem?
How's it, man? How's it going?
It's kind of a new thing. Is like, okay, I switch and then, oh, look, there's Willem. It's no longer just listening.
I know.
So how are you doing?
Assuming people want to see our faces, right?
I know, right? Well, we're going to do the streaming thing because, there's a lot of people on YouTube. And so, and I got to say, they're still listening along on the podcast. So we have not forgotten. I will say, though, I do enjoy for those of you guys watching on YouTube that are not sure or didn't know this, there is bonus sections in the podcast that don't make it to the YouTube video. So if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you may also want to tune into the podcast. If you are on YouTube, you can also see the podcast on the podcast tab from the YouTube channel. So because we are on YouTube Music as well. So for those of you, but if you want the bonus material, that's where to find it.
And the podcast is great for long drive listening. That's kind of my go-to whenever I'm on the road. It's Chasing Waypoints. So.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this Rally 101 thing, man. I think that's going to be a hit. And I'm hoping that all the kind of rally guys out there is going to participate and help make it a success. Because I think there's such a need for that 101 thing to come out. I know a lot of people's waiting to hear about that and see that, so that's going to be cool.
Yeah, I've had a lot of questions, and it's what's interesting is that you feel like Rally, like you think like Rally 101 or Rally Raid is almost like Excel. Like everybody has a different way of using Excel. Not everybody knows even though it's the same basic program, and we all kind of know the same basic functions, but I mean,
everybody has their own way. Yep.
Has their own way of explaining it. So I don't know. Okay, we made the announcement. You made the announcement. Dakar 2025. Decoding.
It's happening, baby.
Decoding Dakar. This is the game plan. We got some stuff to talk about, and namely, I'm glad to see that you are on the not on the no-fly list after transporting a certain device, a certain safety device.
Like the wise, yeah.
Yeah. So catch us up. Where are we at? It's January.
Cool. Yeah. So look, to start off with, I think watching Dakar this year, and watching that chrono stage, it literally made my palms sweaty. I was like, man. Can I actually do this? It's 600 Ks in the dunes. I had some nights where I was definitely doubting a little bit. And then it kind of blows over and you speak to the guys that's been there and you're like, no, this is it. This is what I want. Yeah. So, we get definitely excited for it. I spent the first 2 weeks of the year doing a mini Dakar for myself, and I did 12 days of riding. And my deal was no quitting, even though it was a holiday, and for us in South Africa, it's a huge thing, a cultural thing in South Africa that between 15 December and 15 January, everything grinds to a halt, right? No businesses or no tradesmen are working. Everybody's just on a big holiday. Okay. So it's really cool because it's nice and quiet. I didn't have to worry too much about my business stuff. I could just focus on riding. But I was like, look, I have to get up at 5 every morning, and without fail, I need to ride. I know I have to ride thousands of Ks, but I have to have the discipline to ride every single day.
Nice.
So I did that, and part of that was to make road books for the what I'm calling the Cape Road Book Camp, and that'll be kind of a fundraiser event I do in South Africa in November. Mm-hmm. And the coolest thing for me was like, I almost every day I had somebody else ride with me. And it was so nice because it was like, catching up with friends and, spending time with new friends, spending time with old friends or people hear that I'm there, I'm riding. They're like, oh, I need to go and show you this area or that area. So I think it was only 2 days out of the whole thing that I was alone. And that brought me back to how awesome the motorcycle community is. Like, there was always somebody willing to ride with me, which was fun. Yeah. So, that was the start of the year. That was outside of Cape Town. There's an area called Atlantis, and that's basic. It's small, like, a off-piste road book is probably 10 Ks in there, but the entire area is like 100 square kilometers. So there's tons of riding. It's just that the actual physical dune area is quite small, but at least it was some dunes. And I did it on my old 2012 rally bike, which was a little bit wasn't a mistake, but it was like, I really struggled. Like, I was like, man, this is not fun. Like, this bike it still has a steel tower on it, the 20-liter tank. Yeah. And the bike is just not made for the sand. Gotcha. And at some point, there were dunes that I couldn't get up. And I was like, man, there's something wrong with the bike. There's something wrong with me. And fiddled with the sprockets, fiddled with the tires, what. And then eventually I just got onto somebody else's bike and, I could do it no problem. And I was like, okay, no, it's not me, it's the bike. Yeah. But getting off such a big rally bike onto a 350 or a 500, man, it was like so easy and so fun that I was like, I wonder why I'm doing it on a rally bike. Yeah. But it forces you to train harder and like kind of exert more effort.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and now you can imagine the fuel capacity, the weight of the bike, or how you're saying.
Everything. It's the closest thing. My aim was to kind of recreate a rally bike. I suspect that the new rally bikes, which, for me, I've never raced an RFR, and it's one of the things that, I've ridden one, but I've never raced one in a race, which is something I'm super excited about. And it sounds to me like today, the 2021s and the 2022s, 2023s, it doesn't feel like the 2012, 2014 rally bikes. It's a totally different animal. So I made it harder for myself on purpose, basically.
Well, it's increasing it's decreasing the gap between the two when it comes to, if you practice on, I'm a fan of the rally light bikes. I like how they look. I like, very minimalistic approach, but then I also like the idea. Like, the game plan is hopefully soon we'll have a Cove in the garage, and to be able to ride that well. But there's just something about just a light, spicy bike, as I call it now, is just something that, you could just flick around and do whatever or practice skills on and just to make it translate into a bigger, heavier bike. But for you, you've been riding, several years now, participated at several events. Recent race director and part of the Orga at Baja Rally. So there's, you're more on the riding side of it. Like you would need the gap, you need to start decreasing it, like you're saying, as quickly as possible.
Yep. But look, personally, I'm a fan of the rally. I did, maybe let's first discuss that as far as would a normal bike, let's say normal FE501 with a Sonora tower be classified as a rally light or not? What's our feeling about that? Or is it then a rally bike?
Is it rally medium?
I don't know. I agree, rally medium. But like for me, when I originally got into rally, like I phoned a guy and, I was so obsessed with the bike and that it is one of the Decoding Dakar articles that's going to come out probably in February about the bike, right? The whole, because that's why we all originally get into it, is because of the bikes. And I bought my first rally bike is still this one. I mean, it's a 2012. It's got 665 hours on the clock. And, the guy was like, don't buy that bike. Like, it's heavy. You don't need it. And, this was way back, and he's like, get a handlebar mount, what. And I was like, no, I want a rally bike,
Yeah.
And I've come full circle from that. Whereas, pair of handlebar mounts, the more basic the bike, the less can go wrong, and the easier it handles, and consistently you can see it, that these, and it's also lowering the bar that you and I talk about so often for guys to get into rally, right? It's like you don't need a rally bike to start in rally. No. And I think that's the big thing that I want to come across. Like, even today, if I get a choice, I will race on a stock standard bike. If I can get upgraded suspension, yes, but I don't need everything because it's just extra stuff. I love the Sonora Tower. I think the only thing for me, the only difference is that, the handlebar mounts move with the bike, and the Sonora Tower is so light that, and I think that's something we don't talk about enough, is in the old days, like that 2012 bike of mine, it's got a steel navigation tower on it. So the suspension has to be upgraded because of the weight. Yeah. With handlebar mounts and with the Sonora Tower, you don't need to upgrade your suspension because it's not that heavy in the front. So, yeah, just to roll back, I like rally lights. It's definitely my preferred go-to, because then you just need one bike, right? You need a 450 or a 500, and you can do everything on that bike.
Yeah, and I think that this is, I think this is important, and it's kind of a combined, right, for Rally 101 and for the Decoding Dakar. You have to go through a basic training, basic things to be able to go, because we've talked about that, right? The Dakar Rally is the one that, maybe the people within the rally world, I myself, like, I would maybe, even if I started racing and I just said, okay, I'm done, I'm just going to focus on trying to learn how to race, I am realistically okay with never going to the Dakar Rally, because to me, the Dakar Rally is the Dakar Rally, and that's great, but it wouldn't, as we said, it won't define me as a rally racer, but other people are going to define me. Oh, well, have you been to the Dakar? No. Oh, okay. Yeah. But, I did 8 rallies for the same price of that one, and raced the entire year instead of train the entire year to go for 15 days and get my ass handed to me. So it's kind of, so it's very interesting. Like, you have to be realistic, is like, you're going to have to, the best way to do it, and I think it's what you're saying, is like, we want that big bike. We want that big rally bike. We want the bike that Toby Price rides. We want the bike that, and
makes you warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, I want to call, and I do, and maybe this is some foreshadowing, and I hope, but I want to talk to Speedbrain, because they happen to have built a bike that doesn't exist, and they've built bikes that don't exist into rally bikes that are very competitive. As a matter of fact, Ross Branch managed to pilot one, pun intended, because he is a pilot, or was a pilot. I think he might be doing this full time now, but and they built that rally bike, and we all want that. But what we're noticing, and you've seen it, right? The bikes are getting smaller. We've now went to an MX frame instead of the ladder frame on the RFRs. Well, the RFRs are still the ladder frame, but the bikes are getting smaller. So the bikes are
getting smaller. Yeah. And I think that's a function of the organization. If, let's say, Dakar caps the bikes tomorrow at 250, right, as far as CCs is concerned, I can promise you it'll be 2 years and the manufacturers will get those 250s to go 160. I think the discussion is about making rally slower has finally moved away from making the bike smaller, and we're actually seeing a rise internationally in big bikes coming back to rallies, and rather changing the terrain, which is in my opinion, what they should have done in the first stage. Like first place, if you look at the second to last stage this year in Dakar, I mean, it was insane. I think it was very similar to the second stage last year, the previous Dakar. That's how you slow guys down, by making it more technical terrain, not the bike. So I think that is the future, and because of that, we're going to see bikes that's more suited to more technical terrain, and that also allows us to have more rallies. Look at the Kota. I mean, it can be held in a confined area in technical terrain because you're going slow on small trails. So I think the future of rally, the Dakar will always be the gold standard. It'll always be there. We'll always have those helicopter shots of the guys going 160. But the growth lies in the fact that we can all start doing rallies in our own backyard because we can make it more technical.
Yeah. And that's a very, that was I guess that was a conversation that happened about the Kota Rally, and you draw a very interesting connection between those two. Is that for those that watch the coverage, we all saw, and I don't know the names, but we all saw the guy jump out of the co-driver's seat and go move
I love that
in the hard enduro section.
That was an Irishman,
yeah, and so. We saw that happen, and one, it makes you wonder, like, okay, are we, as a rider, how do you prepare for what the Dakar Rally is now throwing at you? Because I'm pretty sure a lot of people weren't expecting to have to do trials riding on, and when I heard I think it was Luciano saying that, like, oh, some of these sections are more like trials, and I'm like, whatever. It's probably not that bad. We come from Southern California, you've seen the terrain, you understand it, and it's like, it's probably not that bad. And then you see that video and you're going, okay, never mind. That's pretty bad for a big ass rally bike. So we're seeing, like, I 100% agree. It's, the transition of the terrain is really what is going to slow the people down. A big wide open road, everybody's fast on a big wide open road. Even people that aren't and shouldn't be that fast on a big wide open road are fast because the bike will do it. And
exactly.
And I think you're spot on that. And the Kota Rally, that was a conversation that we had as well. It's like, well, it should be more wide open. There should be lesser terrain. Man, Mike, you're evil. Why would you do that to us? But then, and I told him, and I'll own up to it. I said, do it. Who cares? Do your rally the way you want to do it. Do it in your terrain the way you want. There's nobody here. We do off-road racing in the U.S. and North America. We do it just as well as anybody else in the world. Organization. You
could say you do it better if you look at your results in Dakar.
Well, true.
I mean, I don't want to blow your horn, but I mean, I have very definitive views on why Americans do better in Dakar, and it is because of your style of racing.
Mm-hmm. If the terrain, and we were talking about that in the stage previews, it's like, if the terrain if it's dunes, everything goes out the window. I know that Ricky and Skylar Mason, all of these guys have visited the dunes, they ride in the dunes, but that's just not where they grew up, where, you have people like Nacho Cornejo, and then Quintanilla, Van Beveren. These guys are like dune masters. That's their thing. And
that's their thing.
So it's like, one for the Dakar, in your case, in this journey, like, you're seeing this, like, that's actually really, how did you feel watching the Dakar this year and looking at the stages? Were you looking at it a little bit differently than, say, like in at the beginning of 23?
Definitely. I would say, look, this has been such a long journey for me that by 23, I was already looking at it, right? Okay. I think the big difference came that in 2023, after Sonora, like, the first two Sonoras, every time I went to Sonora, that everything goes so well, and you ride so well, and then you enter the dunes, and you can look at the attrition rate in the dune stages in any rally, and for me, what had happened is that, I had a pretty bad crash in Sonora, and it could probably be set down to lack of experience, but also it could be set down to the fact that whenever you get to those dunes, there's this there's an intimidation factor, and for good reason, because they damn dangerous. Like dunes are dangerous, and so the difference for me between 2020, the time span between 2023 and 2024 was that after my crash in Sonora, I made a pact with myself, and I said, listen, I do not want to be intimidated by dunes anymore. I'm happy to have a healthy respect for them, but I need to understand how this stuff works if I'm going to go to Dakar. Yeah. So that ship that had already begun in Dakar 2023. Okay. And then I looked at it more out of a distance perspective and what it entails, but I looked at it. I then went to Namibia in January of 2023, and I have a very good friend there that runs tours and that grew up there, that is a dune master, right? And he's like, okay, let's go. And on the first day, he took me into some seriously bad dunes, and I felt like it's so frustrating because it's not even big stuff. It's just these little humps, and you can't get over them. You try 2 or 3 times, and you get so tired, and he just like looks at you, and you just like at the end of that first day, I'll never forget it. I was like, listen, man, I know that it seems like I can't ride, but I promise you I can ride. Like, it just looks like I can't ride. I don't know what's going on. And he laughed at me, and he was just like, look, everybody has this same issue. You know, don't worry about it. Yeah. And I found that, okay, spending time in the dunes, super important. But then, so that was step 1, right? Then we did, that was January. Then we did the Namibia Road Book Camp in July, spent a lot more time out there, managed to get a better feeling for it. But every time I feel like, okay, Willem, you've got this, something happens and something tweaks and you're like, whoa. So I think you probably never get to a point, if you didn't grow up in dunes, where you're like, okay, I'm happy or comfortable with the dunes. And honestly, so looking at it this year in 2024, that's why I said that 600K dune, like if I'm out in the dunes all day, 100K is far. That's a long day of dune riding. And most people struggle to do 100Ks in the dunes without stopping. So 600Ks, man. Yeah, it's just like I looked at it and I'm like, man, I need to mentally and physically prepare for that stuff, because that's going to be tough. Yeah. So yes, I did look at it completely differently this year. Yeah,
I think, and I feel. What do you think? Is the chrono stage here to stay? Are we going to see it again next year?
I hope so. I mean, it's tough, but I was super excited for it because it brings back the Dakar of old, right? That's why I wanted to do Dakars, because I wanted to race in the desert, like since I can remember, since I was a child or small boy. Like I think it brings it back to the roots, and it is cool. Like, at first I was even more excited because my understanding before, I mean, you and I chatted about the chrono stage, but before I really understood it, when I read it the first time, I thought it's more a question of at a certain point, let's say 4 o'clock, you stop riding and you stay out the night in the desert. That's what I thought. Yeah. And I was like, how cool would that be? It's like, no, you stop where you stop, and you can get sunrise the next day, you can go again. And you basically, all we do is we shut down your ERTF, you stop, and then tomorrow morning we turn it back on. That didn't happen, but I mean, I thought that would be a cool concept. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and it gets, I mean, I feel like that might be, yeah. I mean, that would be really cool. I mean, that's basically what happens when you break down, in the middle of nowhere. You got to wait for the taxi, which is crazy to know that the Dakar has literally a whole separate team that handles guys that have had to spend the night out in the desert. Like, once you're not on the current day anymore, you've got another team that takes over for tracking and all that stuff, which is insane. But I did see some of the tales of, like, competitors, a smaller group of competitors now, like, you didn't really have the, like, well, we are this team, and this is our gang. We're going to go huddle in this corner. It was just like scenes of everybody gathered around these massive campfires and talking and just going over the day and all that stuff. And I can see which was interesting, that they didn't really talk a whole lot about the marathon stage. It was all about the chrono stage. Like there was almost no usually they hype up the marathon stage and, oh, it's going to be this and that, and here's the rules and all this. And they really didn't talk about it. It kind of almost came out of nowhere. It was all about the chrono stage. And I think the chrono stage, if it doesn't replace the marathon stage, then it's going to continue to be the big picture. And I think that's really cool.
Decider.
Yeah, to see the teams, not knowing necessarily where one or the other person is at, their teammate, did they make it ahead? If you're the last one, you don't know on your team, you don't know how far the guys in front of you made it. If they're all together, how that works out.
If you happen to run out of fuel.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody did. One of the Honda guys ran out of fuel.
I know. Yeah, I think it was Quintanilla. Barely made it. And so that's one of those things. Like it limits a lot of the stuff. It limits that. Like say Honda. If all 6 bikes ended up at the same bivouac, and Ricky's the point guy at this point. He's going to have the opportunity maybe from some of the other bikes, if that's possible, to be able to collect parts or change parts or do things to make sure he's got the cleanest bike ready to go if it needs it, so I don't know, I have a feeling the chrono stage is here to stay. So
I totally agree with you. I don't see it going anywhere at all.
So tell me a little bit, where are we at in the process? So last time we talked, it was the introduction, and now it's like, all right, what have you done since December?
A lot. Right. So
the training,
if we're shifting over to Decoding Dakar, currently I'm in New Hampshire, so there is not a lot of opportunity to ride bikes, and a lot of the work has shifted pretty much to the admin paperwork side of it. And I think the things that the viewers can be looking out for, can be looking forward to for, say, between now and February. The first article we have published already, that's how to fly with an air vest. And then we're doing how to get an FIM license. I'm literally did that now. And then we're doing how to qualify for Dakar. That's happening. Then we're doing the bike, like I said earlier, like just talking about the concept of the bike in general, and that you don't need a $30,000 bike to start rally. So those are going to be the main. And maybe if I have time in February, we'll also talk about how to choose a team for Dakar. But so after the 2 weeks in South Africa training, I got back. I got straight onto the FIM license. It's very important to do that stuff as far ahead as you can, as possible. And most of the time, AMA and FIM costs and stuff only gets released or opened in January. So even though I wanted to apply in December, they're like, no, the costing only comes out in January. So as soon as the costing came out, basically for your FIM license, you have to go to a doctor to get a physical. If you're over 50, you need to do a treadmill test. Luckily, I didn't have that.
Snuck it. Nice.
The thing that caused me the most stress was the eye test, man. They were like, because you don't know what the bar is like, right? So they're like, okay, stand over there and then tell me what you see. And I'm like, and I start going down the list, and then eventually I get to the bottom, and so I closed this eye for a long time, and so now I have to do this one. But as you know, if you close this eye and you take it away, it's all fuzzy, right? So now I'm like, listen, this eye I can see in this eye, but because it's just been closed, I can't. It needs some time to adjust. But like, I'm freaking out because I can't see that really small like stuff in the bottom, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? And then so eventually the lady is like, listen, most people don't even get to the bottom there. You're fine. And I was like, I thought that's what I'm supposed to see. I was like freaking out. I had to pee in a cup. I think they check your glucose and a few other things. It's a fairly rudimentary medical. I think it's just to make sure that, you're alive and that you're actually a human. When you have your medical, then in the US, you're going to do it through the AMA. If you're in a different country, you can only get an FIM license through your National Motorcycle Federation.
Okay.
If you don't get it through your Motorcycle Federation, in my case, because I carry a South African passport, the South African National Motorcycle Federation, which is the MSA, Motorsport South Africa, had to formally release me to the AMA, which is the American Motorcycling Association. So that's a document you get. So if you're a Mexican or a Canadian passport holder, but you're living in the US, you would have to get a waiver from your national motorcycle or motorsports organization.
Yeah.
You then do go to the AMA. There's a lady there, very nice lady called Connie Fleming. And then Connie basically sends you all the forms. You fill in all the forms and then you start paying. So your AMA license is not expensive, in my opinion, for what you get. It's $50 for the year. And then when you need to get your FIM license, I am not doing GP and I'm definitely not doing the entire year. So a one event license for an event that's not Dakar is $500.
Okay.
So to put it in perspective, to get a FIM license costs you about $630. If it's the license, the doctor visit, which is about $120, and then your $50 for the AMA.
Okay.
More like $680 then, but in that area. I have not received my start permission, but I literally, before I came to the show, I did the DocuSign with the FIM.
Okay.
So the next step would be that I receive my FIM license. And then I guess that's the really big news, is that I am going to Abu Dhabi Desert Challenge at the end of February. So that's pretty much exclusively reviewed or kind of announced on Chasing Waypoints, that I am heading to Abu Dhabi in Feb. A little bit, wouldn't say scared, I'm excited for it, super excited, but it is 5 days of solid dunes, and it is the hardest, most dangerous qualifier you can do. A lot of people have advised me or asked me why do you want to do Abu Dhabi? For me, it's a litmus test in the sense of, if I go to Abu Dhabi and I struggle, then I know I have a lot of work to do for Dakar. If I go to Abu Dhabi and I enjoy myself, then it gives me a good indicator of how I can manage my time between fundraising and training.
Gotcha.
Because if I'm happy with my performance at Abu Dhabi, and to be clear, that's to finish in a good time, then I'll be okay. If I struggle every single day for survival in Abu Dhabi, then to me that is giving me alarm bells, and I'm like, okay, Willem, you need to train more and harder for Dakar. That's number one. Number two, and I think that's also very good decoding Dakar advice for anybody that's thinking of doing Dakar, is that doing the first qualifier in the year opens you up to do more fundraising. If you do any of the later races, your fundraising ability gets cut in half. So right now it's, can Willem get to Dakar? Will Willem get to Dakar? Hopefully after Abu Dhabi, it's a situation of Willem is going to Dakar.
Gotcha.
So it changes, I think, the amount of force that you push with, And it allows you, if you're super serious, like I am now, as far as being committed, that if for some reason something goes wrong at Abu Dhabi, you still have the opportunity to try and qualify. Granted, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg at other races during the year.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing Abu Dhabi. In short, super excited about it. I am doing it with HD Rally Raid, the same team that I'll be doing Dakar with, and we'll do a whole Decoding Dakar story about how to choose your team coming up. Okay. But that's the big news. I think in a follow-up article or discussion, we will talk about the new system. I had spent a lot of time with the ASO about the new point system. That's another reason that I have to do Abu Dhabi, because given on the new point system, I just don't have enough points to even be considered to do Dakar. Right now, if I do Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi counts for 12 points, right? And in my rudimentary back of the envelope calculations, the ASO will not tell you how much points you need, but I'm of the opinion that if you don't have 20 points, you're going to struggle to get a go. In 2023 or 2024, they had 200 applications to compete in Dakar, and 130 bikes went. Of that 130 bikes, 30 were GP. So, you're already talking about 100 bikes, plus they have what they call a special category for special projects. So let's say that's 10. Then that means that 200 guys have to compete for 90 spots. So, you have to, if you don't have, and again, the ASO didn't say you need 20 points. Looking at the caliber of people that enter Dakar, I feel like to even be in the running, you need 20 points.
Gotcha.
And the World Rally Raid Championship rounds are very, very heavily weighted points wise. Yeah. So you get 12 points for them.
Okay.
So if you do like if I do Abu Dhabi plus all the other races I've done, that would be fine. The reason I don't currently have enough points is the new rule is they will only count the races you've done the 2 years preceding the year you apply in.
Okay.
And that really cuts my experience down. And I mean, I guess I have a moral issue with it, or issues, because it's a lot like me personally. I didn't want to race that much in 2024 because I feel every time I race, I rise, my risk profile goes up. So I would have preferred to train in 2024 and do Dakar in 2025. But with the new point system, that's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's a very interesting concept. I mean, just thinking on the business side of it, you think like, okay, well, if they had 200 applicants, you now have 200 applicants that are, well, let's eliminate the top 30. We'll just say, because the Rally GP guys are probably shoo-ins at this point, for the most part.
If you're in GP, you qualify automatically. Yeah. It's not even a shoe-in. You get
You're
a place.
Already in.
That's part of the deal, that GP riders do not adhere to the point system.
Okay,
they get a spot.
They've made the show. So now you got 170 riders. So basically, if you look at it throughout the year, the whole W2RC, you've just literally signed up 170 riders-ish to be able as customers. That sounds like sounds like a business, but I don't want to make it sound dollars and cents, but as an organization, you've just basically signed up, 170 riders, forcing them to qualify. And then like you said, not going back those couple of years, I kind of see it. I mean, at least my opinion on it is that I get what they're trying to do, but then at the same time, it's like, well, how do you have people, and I consider you one of these people, is that you have people that work their ass off to bring people to the sport, to get people motivated, to literally create customers for them and help in that sense. And then, they kind of, rather than helping open the door, it kind of almost feels like they're slowly like making the entrance, a little narrower.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, there's so much to be said for that, because I asked him, right? I had an interview with them, and I was like, okay, guys, why have you brought in the point system? Let's start there. And their official line, and I mean, it's really hard for me because of two things. I want to get approved, so I can't criticize the ASO right now, number one. And number two is that I made the decision that the ASO is difficult. Kira from Westex 1000, it's the saying that, from point A, the moment you start to think about Dakar, the ASO makes every single aspect of the process as difficult as possible, even the paperwork. And I just decided that, okay, if I'm going to commit to Dakar, because, I'd love to do Africa Eco Race and all of the other stuff, but as we covered in the previous episode, Dakar is the only one that really matters in this case. And then I'm going to resolve not to complain about the ASO all year and about the way things work, and I'm just going to accept it. It's like going to the army or going to school. The rules suck, but you just have to adhere to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with that caveat being said, what they said to me was that, number one, it's for safety, in the sense of this point system will guarantee that it's only qualified or bona fide rally riders that gets to Dakar, which I can get. I can roll with that. But if I were a lawyer and I was in a case, with the current point system, and I'll leave it up to the listeners to decide, I could have done 10 Africa Eco races and I still wouldn't qualify for Dakar. So the discussion about safety and bona fide, I feel then we need another way to decide what is a bona fide rally racer. But that's number one. Number two, which was also a pretty good argument for me, is that they want to guard Dakar. In the article that's coming out, I equate it to Everest, where they want to avoid that people with that money is the only deciding factor, because then you're going to start having the type of bottlenecks you have on the Hillary Step in Everest, where they don't want you to be able to do Everest just if you have enough money. They want to be able, Dakar, they want to be able to have it so that, yes, money is a difficult, or is the main part, but after that, you should actually also be able to do that. And in order for us to show that you can do it, you have to qualify. Versus just having a bunch of guys with money apply to do Dakar, because it is becoming a big deal, right? Everybody wants to do Dakar. And I see that from that perspective as well, is kind of guarding it against just people that just want to do it versus the real rally riders. It's still not easy, and it's still, there's a lot of questions about fairness in that regard, but like I say, for now at least, I've resolved to accept it, and do my best to play the game, and then maybe afterwards we can pull it apart in an episode and see where all of it is not right, or where it's not the rally ethos. But their reasoning is fairly solid. I just don't think it's very fair. But nobody said the ASO is fair.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. They're the organization, they have their rules and all that stuff, but on the surface, I see that, because then you kind of you put other rallies by the wayside as qualifiers for that, and of course they weigh their part of their club, the W2RC events. They're going to weigh them a little bit more heavier because it's in house. They're promoting their own business, and I get that.
But it's not even a little bit more, it's unashamedly in your face more. Like, what I will do is I will send you the points, and then you can maybe put it on the screen while we're having this section of discussion. But, it's 12 points versus, I think if you do Africa Eco Race, it's something like 6 points, versus 12 points for one of their events. So it's like unashamedly in your face. So, and I get it, that's their events, but it does limit it for people, because we're sitting at the point that, because when we talked about that 90 people that's fighting for a spot, we also have to consider the people that have done Dakar the previous year. So if you've done Dakar the previous year, you get 18 points.
Okay.
So out of the 90, I think it's fair to say at least 30 is going to do Dakar again. So now 90 already gets cut down to 60 possible stuff. Although Mo told me that this year there was almost like 90 rookies in Dakar. So maybe that wasn't as many as 30 that goes back. But if you do Dakar, like Kyle now will have 18 points. Plus, he didn't finish the previous one, but now he finished this one. So if Kyle wants to go next year, he already has 18 points, which gets you close to the 20.
Yeah.
So I think that, it's almost, the point system almost makes it that you have to do 2 WRC events, and that's where it starts getting, because is the unspoken goal maybe that we're going to see a future 10 years from now, 5 years from now, where you can only compete in Dakar if you actually do the entire W2RC series. I mean, it's not out of the realm of reality. I hope that's not where we get. Yeah,
2 out of, what is it, 4 or 5 rounds total, I think it is. So you got to do 3 out of the 5 rounds or something like that. I mean, and part of it, I see it. Right. The Dakar, no matter, I mean, there's safety nets and there's things and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just a numbers game. 5,000 miles of competition and liaisons and room for error and, your start times and bivouacs and liaisons, all of this stuff. And so you're basically committing people to learn your way of running a rally, because while there's a standard of, this is what a time control looks like, and this is what this looks like, and this is all this, it's the Dakar and it's the ASO and it's, their organization and the way that they do it could be a little bit different. So I can see where, they're going to want to try and do a thorough job of it. But, the business side of it says, it's growth for the business. They have, these events are not like the part of, to be part of the W2RC World Rally Raid Championship. It's a license thing for an event. The events have to put up, some substantial money to be able to be considered part of it. So for them, the Dakar, the ASO, for them to say, well, look, listen, we know that we can almost guarantee you at least an additional 20 to 30 entries just because people are using this to qualify for points for this. Okay, well, that maybe starts to ease the pain of having to pay for all this extra, seal of approval stuff. So I don't know.
But I think we are seeing kickback to it, and it would be interesting to see how long the point system lasts, because, I mean, my understanding is that I knew that KTM, Husky, and Gas is going to kind of exit the World Rally Raid Championship. I thought it would be 2025, and my understanding is that they have not committed to race the W2RC World Rally Raid Championship this year. They've maybe not pulled out, but they're not saying that they will do the entire championship. So we might be watching a very big corporate face-off. We're not blips on their radar, but maybe that's what's happening right now between these big boys, because I mean, for KTM to pull out of the World Rally Raid Championship would be a massively significant deal.
I mean, with the Honda committing to doing it, I've seen the lineup, and it was only Honda and Hero, that have on the bike side GP that have committed to that. So it's going to be an interesting thing, because we all know, it's what wins on Sunday sells on Monday, and so with KTM, the Austrian brands losing a little bit of its foothold on the podium, it's no longer a layup. It's no longer guaranteed that they're going to be a podium bike. We'll see. It's definitely big news.
What's your personal feeling? We didn't talk about it because it's always hindsight's 2020. Yeah. If Matthias Wagner was able to race, what do you think the results would have looked the same, or do you think we would have seen something else happen this year? I know that's, I mean, it's almost an unanswerable question, but I do think there was a lot of mental fatigue inside the KTM team as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel, I can see where Matthias would have been either sandwiched. He would have been in Ross's position and Ross either back, fourth, that in that realm, kind of where Nacho is, or he would have been where, kind of where Nacho is. Definitely would have been in the mix. For sure, Matthias would have been in the mix. Toby Price was in the mix. The bikes, it's not like the bikes haven't lost their speed. So I just think that it would have been one more arrow in the quiver for the Austrian brand to be able to
fair enough.
To see, Toby's got experience. He knows what the podium tastes like, and so does Matthias. So, the Benavides brothers, same. It feels a little different with Matthias Wagner and his riding and his talent. Something's just a little different than the rest of the team. Which is, to me, that's good. I think on any team, you want to have the guy that knows how to push. He will ride that thing to the very edge of its. If the chain fails at 22 minutes, he's going to ride that thing to 21.59, like that kind of thing. And I think they have a really good balance in the team. And I think it just was missing a little bit of that. That flavor. If it wasn't Ricky or Skyler, I think that it was going to be Toby. It just because all out speed and he just, can send the bike, but Matthias definitely would have been in the conversation.
Well, we'll see how it goes next year, man. Yeah. It was a phenomenal Dakar. Yeah. It's bringing back that really that competition vibes from the 90s where people pushing and where that short differences between each other. It was a good race. Yeah. It was really highly entertaining. So
it just came to my mind. What would be interesting is if they did if the chrono stage. Now I heard that there was some timing hiccup on the second part of the chrono stage and that they were working on that, but they didn't cancel the stage, which would have been an option. Right, they could have just taken the time at the bivouac that everybody may know. They would have had.
But you and I did sit on the morning of the chrono, being like, "We're glad we're not having to deal with that."
Yeah, because it could be a nuclear. Yeah, at that point they would have had to maybe even have thrown both parts of it away as a whole stage, right? If it was a nuclear screw up. But it just occurred to me that this may be the way forward, and so much so that they may scrap the idea of the marathon stage and we may actually see 2 chrono stages.
I thought of that earlier. I didn't want to say it because it was too ambitious, but I also think that you might have because they want to make it harder. I hope they don't do it next year when I go. I think they should wait one more year.
Yeah, or just don't do it on the dune stages, please. Yeah, or do it, split it up. Maybe the first half is not dunes and the second half is, or something like, along those lines. But I could kind of see that going just based on how this kind of shook out. I think they, like everything, like the tire thing a few years back. It's like, okay, they obviously didn't hit the nail on the head with that one.
No, it didn't work.
Right, that didn't work. But, they said, okay, well, all you guys are all limited now to 160 kilometers an hour. Okay, that one seems to stick. And I think this is another one. I think that
I know this one is going to stick.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure going to stick. And it'd be interesting if they multiply it.
It brings it back to the Dakar of old. That's, maybe it multiplies to the point that 10 years from now we're back at the old Dakar where it's you, the bike, and we'll see you at the end finish line kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, so to recap, Decoding Dakar stuff, lots going on. I am headed to Calgary on the 1st or 2nd of February for a motor show there with Ride North Moto. They putting on the Boreal Royale in June. So we're going to promote that there and show a bit of tablets. So if anybody is in Canada or Calgary and you guys want to come over that side, do come and have a look. And then after that, I am going to try and get to Dubai a little bit earlier so that I can ride those dunes, because they are different to the dunes that we have in Sonora. They're different to the dunes in Namibia, and kind of just get used to the area.
Yeah.
And then it's Abu Dhabi. So, you and I will either chat before Abu Dhabi or maybe after Abu Dhabi. Okay. Another cool thing which I'm super excited about is the SoCal Rally. I know that you're going to be there. Yep. And Rallycomp's going to be there. Baja Rally is going to be there. Ken Choma has been saying that he is going to be there. So we're talking about maybe getting a bike from Ken. So Ken, thank you very much. So Battleborn Rally is going to be there. So anybody that wants to do a rally in 2024, make sure you get yourself to SoCal, because that is the boiling pot of where things happen. So make sure you make your way out of SoCal. It's you'll get the coordinates in the desert and the rest will be history. So make sure you can get out there.
It is.
And that's pretty much it. I've got a full calendar for the rest of the year, but I think if we're talking strictly decoding Dakar, the things that the listeners and the viewers can look out for is how to fly with AirVest that's already live. It step-by-step directions. How to qualify for Dakar is coming out soon, and then how to get your FIM license. That's definitely what we wanted to achieve for January, and those three things are squared away pretty much.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, that was like I said, doing some of the homework, and a lot of people are very curious about that. The Dakar finishes, and just as predicted, people watch it, get motivated, and they say, all right, how do I do it? And I think with this is good. Decoding Dakar is going to be really big for them to watch as it progresses. But already just some of the first things that you got to know, it's like, it really, if you really want to set yourself up and increase your chances, you definitely cannot be looking at this in the summer months going, hey, what about Dakar next year? It's not going to work. I mean, it could, but actually, and you touched on it, and I think that's very important. They have pretty much eliminated the money factor, right? I mean, you could have, unless you've been riding all of this time and the skills apply, but unless if you have not been doing that, you haven't been training rally, because in the second half of the year, that means now you're going to need all that money to be able to go participate in some events from what we talked about so far, right? Is you're going to have to go try and earn some points to be able to even start the conversation with the ASO. I mean, it's at that point, if you know what the point system is, don't even bother sending your resume if you don't already have points at this point in time. And then you got and then like you said earlier, is now you have to worry about 200 people jockeying for 60 to 80 positions, from the guys that are not, repeat customers that have already, just because they ran in 23 or 24, they earn points already for participating.
Exactly, and they earn 18 points.
Yeah, so that's a lot. That's a pretty big step.
They have a huge advantage on any of us normal folk that want to go. So it's gonna, I think and that might be helpful for the listeners and viewers as well, is to put it in perspective. From here, applications normally opens in June, and then you normally only hear in October about whether you've been accepted or not. So it's a huge. It's going to be a lot of what you call it, nail biting, finger biting kind of things as far as that's concerned. But I am committed to doing everything possible to make sure that I get accepted. That's going to be it's my goal for the year. That is all I'm doing. It's laser focused Dakar and decoding Dakar and making the sport more accessible for more people. So it's going to be cool to see how it shapes up.
Good. So we'll put, so I'll have the links in the description for the articles already. And then you're going to post you'll show the point system, right? They've already
I'll send you. I'm guessing the point. I think this is coming out Sunday. The point system article is coming out next week, so we could maybe make a post of it once it comes out. But I will, for the show, I'll send you at least what races count what points, and we can just put it on the screen while we chat, and that'll show them.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be awesome. We'll get in another one. Maybe we'll make that the teaser and get people to to head on over and watch this to find out what we're talking about, what the conversation is about. Because it's not as easy as just swipe your credit card and
not that I have the funds. Just let's just state clear. Even if I could just swipe my credit card, they still wouldn't take it. So.
Even if you're in the best of graces and with American Express, and they don't care how much you spend a month, it's still not going to happen.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. So awesome. Well, excellent, sir. Okay, so we'll send them over to the website because you've already got the Flying with the Air Vest. You've got the article on how to qualify coming up. What was the other one that we got?
How to get your FIM license.
How to get your FIM license. Super important.
So theoretically, we've covered that in here already. So you could actually just listen to the show. You don't have to read it. We have all the info in here.
If you want to listen to us ramble on about it, or if you want to read it, whichever it is, the link will be in the description to get you over the way. I mean, it's still a good place to bookmark and because on break time I like to read and listen to stuff. So so awesome.
And then just a quick reminder, anybody that has not entered yet for the Baja Rally, guys, it's shaping up that we're going to have a crazy entry list this year. We're super excited. We had a call earlier this week with prospective entrants asking questions, and I think a big part for me with the Baja Rally is we want to deliver and craft a product that is for you guys, the listeners and the viewers. So we encourage participation. So if you haven't entered for the Baja Rally, make sure you do. And then the same thing for Decoding Dakar and for Victor. If you guys have questions about the journey or anything like that, let us know. I'd love to write articles or do shows with Victor about stuff that you guys want to hear or learn about or find out. So make sure that you drop a line for Victor and let him know what you guys want to hear.
Yeah, drop them. And also, since this is on YouTube, so we'll plug that part of it in. So if you're listening on the podcast, you know where to do it. On Spotify, drop down to the Q&A section. We'll get those listed. I'll relay them to Willem, and so then we can answer them on the follow-up show. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can drop down into the comments section, drop those questions in there, and then we'll get those. Willem will be able to see them as well, and then be able to respond to any of them. If you guys have any questions about that or questions about Baja Rally. And I saw the initial release on the website of the signups, and I was like, I'm still scrolling.
I'm excited. It's going to be so much fun to have everybody out there.
Yeah.
Catavinia and the Baja Rally is just, we stepped it up last year. I am committed to this year. We want to have an even more exceptional experience. So
very nice.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Last year was really awesome. It was great hanging out in the Peace Control with you guys and just chatting it up and keeping track of the kids, making sure they made the lap. Nobody rode off into the sunset.
We're definitely going to do that again. That's for sure.
That was a lot of fun. So it'll be great to see. Hopefully we're there with the rally. Well, hopefully I'll be able to make it with the Rallycom team and check it out with you guys. So, but very awesome. Excellent, Willem.
It would be great to have you out there, Victor. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you in SoCal, man.
I know, SoCal Rally. I still got to remember. Is it first gear down or is it? I got to remember how to ride a motorcycle first.
It's going to be fun. Come a few days early.
Yeah, I know.
I will sort it out.
I might have to call in sick. Well, yeah, I think, I don't know if I could. Maybe I can call in sick. But anyway, so Gnarly Dave, we were talking the other day and he said, so when was the last time you rode the Husky? And I'm like, SoCal Rally. So it's almost been,
are you serious?
It's almost been a year.
That is unacceptable.
Completely unacceptable. I have to, I used to give people a hard time in a good way when I worked at BMW about like, hey, having to do an oil change based on time. Because the oil's been in there for so long, and obviously the engine isn't airtight, so humidity and that kind of stuff. You just want fresh oil in there. I always used to give people a hard time about that, and now I'm thinking, I'm going, I got to change the oil because it's just been in there for a year and it hasn't been. So
do you? Yeah, look, no. You need to ride. Did you sell your 790? Did that come?
No, man, they're making some lowball offers. I mean, it's almost like they want me to pay them to take it, and I go, no,
man, that's
it
such
doesn't
a good
work that
bike.
way.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
it'll find the right home because those bikes are flippin' amazing bikes.
Yeah, they're animals. I mean, they are. And as far as adventure bike goes, so. I will see. I mean, I'm even considering, I have the Raid Garage tanks, the skinnier tanks. I'm even considering putting those on and just kind of strip it down just one other level, and maybe somebody that's won't be as intimidated because of the size of the bike. I don't know. I've got later on today, I'm working in the garage. The project is to get the 501 out because I've got some new triple clamps that I want to try.
No, they look amazing. It's going to be fun. No, so try that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't even remember what the bike rides like now. So, so hopefully, I'm just looking for more instant confidence, because I honestly, I feel very comfortable on the big bike. It just, the adventure bike just kind of fits. I gel with it a little bit better. So hopefully I can make the 501 feel slightly closer to that, and then I'll be happy with it. So we'll see. But awesome. Cool. We will see you soon, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for everything you do with Chasing Waypoints and for the rally community. I am going to keep my eye out for Rally 101, and we'll try and catch up maybe before Abu Dhabi, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Have a great one, Victor.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
You too.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Stay well. Enjoy. See ya. Bye. All right. So there you have it. That was Willem Avenant talking about, just so many things are coming. So many things are coming with the Decoding Dakar thing. And I'm excited about it, because we're going to get a chance to take a look and peel back the curtain of what the process is. I'm going to ask and reach out to a couple of the other people that we know in the rally community that have gone to the Dakar recently. We've got a call scheduled with Kyle McCoy. Thank you, Lizzie. We've got a call scheduled with Kyle McCoy, one of the guys that ran in the Mallet class, the toughest class at the Dakar Rally. In my opinion, and I think many people will agree, you got to do it all yourself. And so that is definitely a conversation coming. A little bit later, in roughly 30 minutes, I got a conversation with Wes Carr, another participant in the 2024 Dakar Rally. And so we're looking forward to talking to these guys and bringing you guys the story with them. So stay tuned. We got a lot coming. I know somebody was asking a little bit about, the process on getting signed up and how to get started in the Dakar and what are some of the things. Hey, that, tune in, look at the link, or look in the description. Get some of that stuff, get on over to Willem's website, and then we can just have the conversation. Let's find out a little bit more about it. What are the details? What are the things that we're missing? What do you guys want to know? What does it take to get into the Dakar Rally? So super excited to do that. Absolutely looking forward to it. Guys, thank you for tuning in. If you're on the live stream, or if you're on the stream here on YouTube watching us, I tried the Spotify thing. I uploaded the video and it didn't load. It's not my fault. I did what I needed to do, so we're going to keep it. So if you guys are listening on the podcast episode, thank you for tuning in on that one. Absolutely excited to bring you guys even more of it. And look, if you guys are curious about rally, I'm telling you, you are not alone. I can see the line in the graph. I can see how things are moving, and there's more and more and more and more people getting interested in learning it. So Rally 101 is going to be huge. So make sure you are following along. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notifications if I'm pointing at the right part on the screen. And if you are on the podcast listening to this now, it's interesting. There's a lot of people that tune in and they're not subscribed. You're going to want to know, because I'm going to start releasing bonus episodes with little tidbits of that, and then getting you pointed over so you can watch the videos and see all of this Rally 101 stuff. And if you got guys that, if you're the guy promoting the rallies thing in your group of people and trying to get people into the sport, if you're that guy and they're not listening, share that with it, share that kind of stuff with it, because we're going to grow this community. There is a ton of people in this community, in the rally community here in North America, that actually they want to see the people grow. There's no egos. It's a different family. It's a different vibe. It's awesome. I can't wait to see this grow even further. So happy to help you guys any way that we can and try and get you the information that we need. With that being said, guys, remember, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, now that our YouTubers are gone, so what's everybody doing this weekend? Are we out riding, having fun? So I'm very excited about what is coming and what is going on. And if you guys are listening and you've been doing some rally experience, don't forget, hit that comment section if you're on Spotify, or send me a direct message on Instagram to find out a little bit more. What were the things you wish you knew when you very first looked up, hey, I want to learn how to do rally. let us know. Let's get you, happy to shout you out on the show and talk a little bit about, what your experience was and what are the things that kind of close the gap for newcomers, because there's going to be a lot of newcomers to it, to the sport, and we're absolutely looking forward to it. So anyway, we'll see you guys soon. I hope everybody is well. Remember, once again, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride. All right, that is a wrap for the Chasing Waypoints podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Looking forward to our next one coming up. Remember, if you are out riding, do not forget to tag us at Chasing Waypoints. Hashtag Chasing Waypoints. And if you haven't already, get on over to the website. Get signed up for the newsletter, The Bivouac. North America's Rally Raid and Adventure Riding newsletter. Hey, let's have some fun. Let's find out what are you guys up to. Let's get you featured. If you're a brand and looking to get supported, get some eyeballs, get some ears on your business, absolutely hit us up. Send us a message at podcast at Chasing Waypoints. But anyway, that is a wrap. Remember, shiny side up. See you guys.